Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Telegraph Herald More Than the Score. I'm your host Steve Ortman. Alongside me this week, Tim O'Neill. Whew. Didn't see you there.
You right there, buddy?
Whew. Didn't see you there. Wow. Did you have fun in the sun today?
A little bit, a little crispy.
I see. Well, let's get right to it. Excuse me. All area softball. You've been working hard. This came out this past weekend. Telegraph Herald in the print edition, as well as online. So let's focus first on our player of the year. And boy, did she have a fantastic season. Not only that, but an awesome career at Belmont.
Right, we're talking about a four-year contributor in Sadie Wilborn, who this past spring led the Braves to the second state championship in program history. And her numbers throughout her career have been strong, but none more so than this year. I mean, you look at her stats, she went 25-1 with a 0.69 ERA. I believe that was 17 earned runs in 172 innings. Over that span, she struck out 246. She also hit .435 at the plate, so she got it done in all facets of the game. She was at her best at the state tournament in 2 games up in Madison. She allowed just a single unearned run over 13 innings. Belmont really kind of put away the competition up there to capture the WIAA Division V state championship. It's been a long time since we've had a Wisconsin player of the year from Wisconsin. The last time I believe it was 2007, but at that point we had split teams for split player of the year for spring and summer seasons. The last time when it was a combined one team for both seasons, it was 2002, which coincidentally was the last time Belmont won a state championship. So. But the season and the career that Wilborn put up, it was kind of hard to deny. There were a lot of other good players that were worthy, but what Wilborn did was kind of hard to deny.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely fantastic year. And I always think it's interesting when you are a player of the year from Wisconsin, you're doing that in the spring, and we're looking back all the way here at the end of summer to looking back. It's just a testament to what a fantastic year she had, to be able to all these months later to still just what a standout year it was for them and the Braves as a whole as well. So
well, and another part about that is maybe that is part of what contributes to not having many Wisconsin players of the year is the summer season is so fresh in the mind, and then the number of games that these teams play. In Wisconsin, you're looking at if you go all the way to the state title, Belmont played 26 games this year, 27 maybe. And in Iowa, they play 40 in the regular season. So some of those power numbers, the extra base hits, the RBIs, some of those tend to go in favor of the players who played a longer season in Iowa. But sometimes you just gotta take a full look, and this year it was Wilborn's turn to shine.
All right. Well, now obviously when you're putting together an all-area team, all kinds of talent all across the tri-states. Who are some other players that really stand out to you?
Well, when you look at this team, I mean, there are a couple other candidates for player of the year. You look at our other state qualifier in Dyersville Beckman, they had a couple in pitcher Sydney Steffen and Heather Bockenstedt. Sydney Steffen was co-player of the year a couple of years ago, and this year Heather Bockenstedt, boy, the numbers she put up, she hit .514 out of the leadoff spot for the Blazers, and she was among the state leaders regardless of class in runs and hits. She scored 63 runs, had 71 hits, and she was a menace on the base paths too. If she got on first base, whether it was a hit or a walk, she was going to end up on third, whether that was stealing a base, getting a sacrifice bunt, and then Sydney Steffen hitting third in the lineup, put up the power numbers, drove in a lot of runs, hit for a high average, and was an absolute workhorse in the pitching circle. This past season, she went over 1,000 career innings, which is astounding. You think about in summer softball in Iowa, you can play 5 years starting in your 8th grade. That's averaging 200 innings per season. That's pretty impressive. Looking elsewhere in the infield, Katie Shaw of Dubuque Hempstead was another candidate for that player of the year. I mean, the season she put up, she was a dominant force in the leadoff spot for the Mustangs. She had .462. She scored 52 runs and drove in 46. So she had that unique combination of not only getting on base, being a smart base runner, but also having power and driving in runs out of that leadoff spot. 23 of her 61 hits went for extra base hits this year, which is pretty impressive, nearly half. And the Mustangs had a couple of aces in the pitching circle too. Normally, you want one. They had two, in Mallory Huseman, a junior who went 20-6 with a 1.15 ERA, and then Lydia Edema an 8th grader bursting onto the scene. She split time between pitcher and outfield. She went 12-2 with a 1.94 ERA. She also hit .368 a little further down in the lineup, so a nice solid debut season from her. Across the city, another strong pitcher at Wahlert, Anna Chapman, who has been in the mix for Player of the Year the past couple of years. She's a solid hitter at the plate, hits for power. And then on the mound, she went 15-8 this year, posted a 1.78 ERA, struck out 225 in 145 and 2/3 innings. So she's got that kind of shutout stuff. And then going back to Belmont, across the river, Nikki Kniebel, shortstop for the Brave State Championship team, hit .443, scored 34 runs, drove in 31, hit 6 home runs. Finally wrapping it up across the river, Mineral Point had a couple of absolute powers in Morgan James and Lauren James. Morgan, the catcher, hit .571. She had 15 doubles, drove in 44 runs. And then shortstop Lauren James hit .452, hit 9 home runs, and 37 RBIs. Now, I could go on and on about everybody on the team. Those are just some of the ones that stood out to me. There were 14 on the first team, 14 on the second team, and then a whole bunch of players earned honorable mention.
All right, now you already mentioned Dyersville Beckman. Great year they had going to state for the very first time, and obviously kind of an easy selection then when it came to Coach of the Year.
Right, you know, it kind of came down to Jeff Hodgson from Belmont after winning the state title, and Ryan Meisner from Beckman. Hodgson became a 3-time Coach of the Year a couple of years ago when the Braves made it to the state tournament, and so this year, you know, kind of a no-brainer. The second year in a row, the Coach of the Year has gone to someone who led the program to the first state tournament berth in program history, and this year, you know, Beckman has been knocking on the door for quite a while and finally got through. Meisner's in his 4th year with the program, kind of split between a few seasons. They had another couple of coaches in between there. He came back 2 years ago, or last year, excuse me. Beckman had a nice season, but eventually fell short. This year, they knocked off the number 2 ranked team in Class 2A, Durant, in the regional final to reach the state tournament. Unfortunately, they suffered a heartbreaking loss in their state quarterfinal, bounced back to win the consolation game. They went 1-1 at the state tournament, finished the year 30-14. So an impressive year for them. And you know, one of the things the players said about him is he just keeps things loose, makes things fun again. And talking with shortstop Heather Bockenstedt, she said in the past softball had kind of become not quite so much fun for her. This year, she said, was probably one of the most fun years she's had playing the game. So credit to Ryan Meisner and what he's done with that program.
All right, well, that's another softball season in the books. Tim O'Neill, thank you for all your wisdom and knowledge, my friend.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, well, coming up this weekend, we're going to have the Telegraph Herald All-Area Baseball team, so be sure to keep your eyes on that, running this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Telegraph Herald. More on the Score. I am your host, Steve Ortman. For Tim O'Neill, we will see you next week.